Just quickly, a quick update on the squad and how they've come through following the international break.
Yeah, hard to give you that answer at the moment because the players have just arrived. We're due to train in the next couple of hours, team meeting. So we're just finalising a few kind of niggles that we're aware of from these camps, which is normal. And of course, we'll see who's available, who's ready to train. A couple of little illnesses flying around as well, which is kind of the norm at the minute because I think there's quite a bit going around. So and when you put that into context as well with the amount of travelling some of these players have to go through, then it can cause you those issues. But yeah, I think so far from the information we've had, we're in pretty good shape.
I know you never look for excuses, but I suppose City's probably one of the worst cases with Australian players, Japanese players having to come from all around the world. So how do you and the management team sort of manage that situation and make sure everyone comes back as sharp as they possibly can be?
Yeah, we individualise it. We have to. I think that, Mary and Alana were in Europe on this occasion, which was fortunate. Of course, the Japanese girls are the ones who probably travelled the most distance. So we have to individualise it for each case and even within the Japanese girls, individualise that as well because they'll all be different in the way that they recover. So, yeah, we try and give as much individual support as we possibly can. And if that means looking after them in certain ways or preparing them in different ways with their nutrition wise or their sleep patterns, then we try to help as much as we can.
Crystal Palace on Sunday, and they've picked up 4 points from the last two games, seem to have started to find their feet in the top flight. How do you see their challenge this weekend?
Yeah, tough challenge, of course. We're going to their stadium at Selhurst Park, which is obviously good for us, but also we're aware of the threats that they can carry. And like you say, 4 points in the last two games, going to Leicester. I don't expect anybody expected them to bring the 3 points home. And obviously against a strong Liverpool team as well, who can be really dominant in some situations. So of course we need to be wary of that. We, like them, don't have too much time to prepare. But yeah, I think that's been the norm for us a little bit this season with Champions League football. I think it's been great in that sense that we've had to roll into the next game and recover and get ready really quickly.
And just finally, Lauren Hemp's been named Player of the Month in the WSL. There seems to be a real sort of added maturity to her game this season. She seems to be getting even better, which seems mad when you think about what she's already achieved. What have you maybe noticed from her in the last few months this season, maybe taking on a more senior role and sort of dragging the team forward even more?
Yeah, I've seen huge growth in Lauren's game. I think it's great that she's been recognised with Player of the Month, and I think it was a really solid month for her because she really drove the team to high levels. And of course, she was always a good player when I first arrived. There's no doubt about that. She was a player that caught the eye straight away. But I feel her game understanding is massively improved. I think she recognises the right moments to go and do a thing and recognises the right moments to maintain possession when the numbers might be against her. So very intelligent player, very humble person to work with, has a really good open mindset to growth. And yeah, she's a real solid member of the team. And like you say, she's taken on that extra responsibility now, which is great. She's suggesting things. She's helping young players, even though she's a young player herself. So yeah, like I said previously, she's great to work with and really enjoying seeing this new kind of maturity in her. Yeah, definitely. I think she's been great in that sense.
Thanks, Gareth.
Cheers.
Hi, Gareth. Palace are a side you've not really come up against much. How do you prepare for this kind of game?
We haven't come up against them at all. So, yeah, of course, we study them like we do all opponents. And of course, we potentially have a better understanding of teams we face more often, of what the game plan will look like. But yeah, we're pretty solid in having had this international break. Our focus has been on Crystal Palace for sure. So the team have been working hard, the team of staff, making sure the players are really prepared for what we think we'll face. And of course, like we've said previously, that when that doesn't happen and it's slightly different, we had that scenario against Liverpool recently where we prepared for certain things in their defensive lineup and the numbers, and they were different. The players are really bright in that sense that they're really able to pick up where the spaces are likely to be, how that's going to be different for us in the sense of what we have prepared for. So I think the players are really good in that sense. They've been really well educated. They've taken on the information really well, and and we need to be prepared for various systems that Crystal Palace could play at the weekend.
And heading now into quite a congested run of games, what is that like in terms of kind of the squad coming off an international break?
Well, sometimes that game can come around pretty quickly, and normally it's, for us over the last 2 seasons with not having Champions League football, it's been something that we're probably not used to, whereas now, preparing every 3 or 4 days, preparing team meetings, post-match meetings, happening every few days, I think it's starting to become the norm. So, like I say, the players are highly educated, they are very bright in their understanding of what we're trying to do, and yeah, I think they're taking it in their stride really well, and I think that's been proven with, I think it's 8 victories out of 9, unbeaten in both Europe and in the WSL. So I think great credit to the players that they are taking on the information and being able to execute it really well.
And just last from me, we heard this week that Viv Miedema has had a surgery on her knee. Is there any more information on that yet?
Only that it was a really minor procedure. It was just a slight niggle that Viv had that we felt may have gone away. But after discussions with the surgeon, they decided to do a small procedure, and I think it's really going to help Viv. Of course, she's made a huge contribution. I don't see that contribution changing, although it might not be on pitch. I've mentioned previously she's been fabulous with the young players and the girls in general, and the impact that she's had so far on the pitch has been top, particularly when we've slightly adapted her position. She's added real value to us and another dimension, and the way I look at it is after getting herself right with this surgery and obviously getting herself really fit and really strong, we're going to have an enhanced version, and I think she only has to look at Jill Roord to see that. You know, Jill's performing so well after having had that period away from the pitch, getting herself really strong, really fit. We get back a better version.
We'll go to Zoom now. Dan?
Hey Gareth, hope you're well.
Hi.
I just want to ask you about kind of grinding out results, because you've always kind of been consistent in past seasons, but I just think the way that you kind of ground out those 3 results before the break was really, really impressive. So, you know, do you feel like the team have kind of stepped up in that area this season?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's more to do with probably the improvements of teams. I think when you look at the Liverpool game, fabulous feeling, winning that game really late. After having had the experience midweek of playing against Barcelona. Obviously, we put a lot of energy into that game. But yeah, I think you have to give credit to the opposition and making it really difficult now. And the more enthusiasm teams have by being able to kind of stay in the game. And of course, I think we've been very, very good. I think I always look at the performances rather than the results. Of course, our results have been great, but I think that's down to our performances. And again, if we draw that game at Liverpool or if we draw against Villa, my feeling won't change on the performance. I think we're dominating games. I think in those 2 games, Villa, we sustained 2 shots on target. One of them's a goal. Liverpool, 1 long-range action for their goal. We're doing so well in that sense defensively. Although it feels that we're chasing games a little bit at times, I think the attitude from the players has been spot on. They've been really calm. We're not panicking. We know we're capable. And the players have showed that we fight till the end.
Just coming back to Palace, I think, you know, Laura Kaminsky is obviously a coach who's kind of learned kind of, you know, her methods, you know, in assistant roles with Spurs and Charlton, and then she's obviously finally got that opportunity. What has kind of really impressed you about the way that she's kind of coached her Palace team?
Well, you have to be really impressed with anyone who gets them out of the league below, and I think that's really impressive. Of course, I managed to have a conversation with her in the summer. We were at the same event, and was speaking with her. I was speaking with Dougie Friedman, who's obviously the sporting director at the club, and you know, he's really taken an avid part in the women's game as well. So yeah, I think it's impressive what they're doing. Obviously, the challenge now is, I would imagine, I'm not sure on their objective, but I would imagine it would be to stay in the WSL, and that's really tough, particularly when you see the levels improving a lot. So yeah, I think what has been impressive is over the last few games, and now their performances are starting to turn into points. They lost 1-0 to Brighton at home Again, I've watched that game extensively because I've been fairly impressed with Brighton, but that was a really tight game as well, and Brighton found it really, really difficult to get over the line. So we are under no illusions that we're against a tough, solid opponent who'll be fighting for every single challenge. So, yeah, we need to be ready for that, and we will be.
That's good. Best of luck for the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. We'll go to Phil next.
Hi, Gareth.
Hi.
Just on Viv again, are you able to say how long you think she's going to be out for?
No, I don't think we've put a timescale on it at all. I think it's, like I say, I'm pretty certain it was some form of keyhole surgery, so I don't think it's anything that's going to keep her out for any particularly long period. But again, you never know on these situations what the time back to pitch it looks like. But knowing Viv, I just spoke with her before actually, and she said she feels she's ready to run, which is maybe slightly ambitious on her front. But yeah, that's just her in a nutshell. She wants to be back out with us. She's really enjoying her football with us. And like I say, I think we get an improved version when she comes back.
Apologies if I've missed you saying something about this before. How's Naomi Lazel getting on at the moment as well?
Yeah, Naomi's is getting there. I think the feeling after Barcelona was hopefully this is not going to be anything too extensive. We still feel that's the case. There has been some slight bits of swelling that we just need to really get rid of, which is moving in the right direction before she can enter coming back onto the pitch with us. But of course, yeah, I think she's made a really strong, solid start to the season for us. And I think that getting that player back will be really important because she can fill a number of positions.
Also, just finally want to get your thoughts on the timing of the Ballon d'Or ceremony, which was something that Serena Bigman had something to say about, obviously in terms of certain players not being able to attend because it was during the international break.
Yeah, it's really difficult, this one. I was just having this conversation with Steph, who went to the awards. I was having a discussion with her about it. Is like, I think wherever you put it in the calendar, there's going to be a problem from someone that they're struggling to attend. It's so difficult, the calendar these days, but it is disappointing because I think, particularly for ourselves, having 3 players nominated shows the good work that we're doing, and we want to celebrate that. And of course, for whatever reason, we've not been able to. But I think there's talk of maybe moving it forward a month next year. I don't know if it's a whisper at all, but if that's the case, hopefully it helps female players to be able to, or more female players to be able to attend.
Great. Okay, cheers.
Thanks, Phil. We'll go to Ellie next.
Hi, Gareth.
Hi.
I know you mentioned Jill Road there when you were talking about Viv's return from injury, but I just wanted to ask you about her. She got another couple of goals in the international break. How pleasing was that to see? Was it 3 goals in 2 games for her? It must be really good to see.
Yeah, super impressed with Jill. Always have been. I think her reaction and her attitude to everything that's been put in front of her has been great. Of course, she had a tight game against Indonesia where she was able to get a couple of goals. But yeah, I think that's important for her. Her next game followed up against Denmark was her 100th cap, which is super impressive as well. So yeah, I was really pleased when she got the goal against Villa because we don't put any unnecessary pressure on her because she's finding her way back, and we've tried to be patient with all of our players who've recovered from those types of injuries. So for her to gain that confidence, get more kind of game time under her belt, but the adequate game time I think has been important because we really pushed her in that period before the international break, just because a couple of our games were quite tight. And like I said previously, she looked as fresh in the 90th minute as she did in the first.
Thank you. And do you think, has she been sort of, obviously her and Miedemar have had similar injuries and sort of different kind of recoveries from those. Has she been kind of useful to be around Miedemar, and has she kind of been a good, obviously the compatriots of the country, has she been a good shoulder to lean on, and has she been helpful with this other injury setback that it's had?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit roles reversed now for those two. Of course, Viv was fully fit. Jill was making her way back, close to playing. You know, they're good friends. They've known each other for a long time, both for club and country. So I think, they've been good in that sense. And I think the roles are reversed slightly now. But I think, like I say, Viv hopefully be back soon, giving us the quality that she's shown already in the early part of the season.